I'm deep in the reads, and I'm really excited about this review that I'm about to do because I'm going to be looking at one of my favorite science fiction novels of all time, Solaris, by Stanisław Lem. Stanisław Lem is probably the best-known Polish science fiction author of all time. He was also a philosopher and a literary critic, but Solaris is his best-known work. It absolutely blew my mind when I first read it. It's haunting, it's ethereal, it's great hard science fiction that is pretty understated in a lot of ways, but still left a very indelible mark on me that made me keep thinking about it years later. I should mention right off the bat that I've read multiple translations of Solaris, and it just so happens that the version I own is the very poorly regarded version, the Kilmartin Cox translation. I would instead recommend the Bill Johnston translation if you can find that. But anyway, Solaris is the name of the planet that the book is set around. Solaris is this mysterious planet covered entirely in this vast ocean, which researchers have come to find seems to be one planet-sized organism that may or may not be sentient. Solaris Station hovers just above the ocean, and it's where researchers have been studying the planet for decades. A psychologist named Chris Kelvin is sent to Solaris Station to determine whether or not the project should continue or not due to lack of progress, and also to study the strange psychological effects that the planet seems to have on the crew. And when he gets there, things are way more bizarre than he ever could have anticipated. It seems the crew is completely unhinged and haunted by apparitions that may or may not be real. Chris has this incredible journey to Solaris Station that immediately told me that I was reading something special. All sense of time and space are lost, there's no up or down anymore, so he can't really orient himself, and when he gets on the station, he's not even sure what's real or not. It's a great foreshadowing at the mind-bending nature of the story to come. It's written in first person, so you're really inside Kelvin's head as he slowly pieces together what happened on Solaris Station and the strange things that are continuing to happen to the crew and to himself. It has this brilliant, creepy opening that just grips me every time. It's like The Shining on a space station. The prose is pretty much typical of science fiction of the time. It's somewhat dry and utilitarian, but its strengths come from how descriptive it is. It really immerses you in what's going on with the five senses and things like that, so you can really visualize things. Kelvin is a pretty straightforward protagonist, at least on the surface at first, but as you read the book you realize that some of his innermost motivations might be being withheld from you despite the first-person narrative. This by-the-book approach that Kelvin has is contrasted really well with the rest of the crew who have seemingly thrown the book out the window a long time ago. Especially Snout, whose time on Solaris has made him into a complete nihilist. He just is looking to tear people down, he's gruff, he's rude, and like I said, he may or may not have a screw loose, so it's a really fun dynamic, and I love seeing them clash throughout the book. And then there's the visitors. While on Solaris Station, Kelvin is surprised to meet a woman from his past named Hari. Through Kelvin's interactions with Hari, you end up learning a lot about his past, including a lot of stuff which will make him kind of hard to sympathize with. So when I say he's a flawed character, that's quite the understatement. There's also a lot of interesting stuff with Hari herself, because at first, Hari seems to be this somewhat dated, misogynistic trope of a woman character who is way too dependent and way too defined by the man in her life. But he grows to be so much more than that by the course of the story and what Solaris itself is doing to the crew and to Hari. So it's really worth riding out and seeing how these things are examined over the course of the book. There are some mysteries around how she got there and what her connection is to the planet, and suddenly they're confronted with these deep, dark secrets down inside them, and the planet may be influencing what is going on the station. So much of the story focuses on these developments and what to do about them, and the way that they might be the key to understanding not only Solaris, but the mysteries of space and the mysteries of the self. And this is where the book goes from just being really intriguing and gripping to being something so much deeper, and it really kicks the book up another level for me. Now, Solaris is hard science fiction, and what's a hard sci-fi novel without a few lengthy exposition dumps? Solaris has a few of these interludes where Kelvin takes an in-universe non-fiction book about solaristics, the study of Solaris, and he sits down and reads, and you read right along with him. You learn the history of research on this planet and all of the mysterious circumstances around it, and later on, you read some first-hand eyewitness accounts that have been gathered over the years. People who don't love this book as much as I do aren't really the biggest fan of these sections, but for my part, I absolutely love them. When Kelvin is thoroughly freaked out by what's going on the station and the planet, he finds an eyewitness account called the Minor Apocrypha, an account so bizarre and nightmarish that it's been dismissed as completely hallucinatory. But because of what Kelvin has witnessed, he's a little bit more inclined to believe it. And let me tell you, I was absolutely on the edge of my seat with this. The visuals are so deliciously creepy. It's like something straight out of Lovecraft. It's just really haunting and suspenseful. While I do think that some of these interlude sections go on a little bit too long, I also think they're absolutely integral to the story and very important for the themes as well. It shows how desperate people are to understand Solaris and the other mysteries of the universe, but also how Solaris kind of holds a mirror up to them by trying to learn about the humans in its own way. So there's a lot of questions that are provoked about how we humans project our own perspectives and impose them not only onto other people around us, but onto nature itself. There's also a lot more introspective themes throughout the book as well, like how do we learn and grow from past mistakes or our own trauma? How can we claim to be able to answer the mysteries of the universe when we can't even understand our own neighbors at times? This novel also has a ton to appreciate if you happen to be a lover of art history and theory. There are a ton of references to surrealism in this book, which I thoroughly appreciated. The surrealists were very interested in psychology and especially the subconscious mind. They believed that dreams were a really big key to the subconscious mind and had a lot to do with a person's subjective reality that they projected onto the world around them. Just to further that connection, in case I need to, one of the key witnesses in this book is named Andre Burton, and one of the founders of the Surrealist movement, his name is Andre Breton. Another important implication of using surrealism so much in this book is that it's a sharply political art movement. It was far left, but above all, it was anti-authoritarian. It was anti-Nazi. It was anti-Soviet Union. And Poland, where Lem is from, was split in half by the Nazis and the Soviets within his lifetime. He narrowly escaped being rounded up into a concentration camp when he was younger, and when he was writing Solaris, he was living under the Soviet bloc. Both the Nazis and the Soviets burned surrealist artworks. Both of them were about subsuming the individual identity in favor of the state, and so they did away with things like psychology. Solaris pushes against that by using the language of the final frontier of the space race which was going on at the time to make the inner mind of a person so tantalizing and say all this stuff about their individual subjectivity and the importance of that. Not only that, but the surrealists were very much anti-war, and they came out during the Cold War, so anti-nuclear weapons. There's some subtle references to nuclear radiation and nuclear bombs in this book. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons this book is very much a product of its time, responding to things that were very close to Stanisław Lem's life. But it's also so timeless because of its focus on the thing that makes up who we are the most essentially, our minds. There are some aspects that haven't aged quite so well. For example, there's a very brief scene of borderline racial sexualization at the start. Overall, I think this book has aged incredibly well, and a lot of its messages are definitely pertinent to today times. There are definitely a lot of sci-fi stories out there that try to be spiritual and mystical in the way that this book does, but they end up being pretty hokey and superficial, like Interstellar or Prometheus. But I think Solaris pulls off that deeper aspect with aplomb. It ends up being a lot to sink your teeth into and really profound in a lot of ways. The ending itself is very understated, and I think some readers would be disappointed with it, but for my part, I found it intensely personal and heartfelt, and I loved the direction it took. I give this book a 9 out of 10. It just blew me away, and I'm really hoping I can find more science fiction that's like it. Have you read Solaris or anything by this author? I would love to know. If you have any recommendations that are similar, please tell me. And if you didn't like this book, I also want to hear from you because I demand an explanation. That's it for me. That's my review. I hope you enjoyed it and are looking forward to future videos about books from me. So, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.